as if you replace Socialist alternative with Equal Love, but I had to speak to my audience, so here goes. Yeah, my name's Larry. I'm transgender and I've been a co-convener of Equal Love for 3.5 years. I'm here today as a transgender activist in the proud tradition of Stonewall, an LGBTI protest movement led by drag queens and gender diverse youth. Activist Ricky Blair recalled, Stonewall was about pride, living honestly and fighting for basic human rights. Our movement follows in these footsteps. Successive governments have institutionalised homophobia and transphobia by denying us our right to marry. They have said that our relationships are not equal with theirs, that we are second-class citizens. Abbott, the biggest bigot in government since Howard, has even said he would like us to enact a don't ask, don't tell policy. Well, we're out and proud tonight to say fuck humans. Bigotry. State-sanctioned homophobia and transphobia negatively impacts suicide rates, drug and alcohol abuse, and depression in the LGBTI community. 90% of trans and intersex people experience discrimination, and trans youth are 14 times more likely to commit suicide. The oppression of gender identity and sexuality are inextricably linked. I don't think it's an accident that the most marginalised and oppressed gays and lesbians are the most gender varying. A friend of mine recently committed suicide. Amber was a leading activist in the Perth Equal Love and a young, vibrant trans woman. Amber faced discrimination and transphobia from public medical services and crisis accommodation. The lack of laws in Perth to protect her actively promoted transphobia as being acceptable, and her death was a product of that transphobia. As she wrote herself, life as a transgender or gender diverse person is often characterised by difficulty and discrimination, family rejection, homelessness, depression, attempted suicide. These are a regular part of our existence. She went on to say, there are, however, rays of hope. The campaign for marriage equality provides both a source of inspiration and a platform from which other issues faced by LGBTI people can be addressed. Amber's death was a shattering blow, and she'll never be forgotten. But Amber was a fighter, a rabble-rouser, a passionate defender of equal rights. Her death should steel our determination and anger to fight on. She is not the first young woman of our community taken from us. Homophobia and transphobia kill. Our government legitimises this with laws such as the ban against marriage equality, and we need to continue to stand up against their bigotry and discrimination. I grew up in an era under John Howard, where the only voice I heard in society was him on the TV talking about how much he hated gay marriage and gay adoption. There wasn't any mention of trans people at all, but I can imagine what he'd say about us. The whole debate in society was whether LGBTI people were perverted or normal, and I internalised that homophobia. I didn't even know it was possible to be gender diverse until I was 16. And 6 months later, when I realised I was trans, I tried to commit suicide. At the time I met Equal Love 3 years later, I didn't want to acknowledge to anyone I was trans. I only openly identified as a bisexual man. Being involved with Equal Love, and this is the part where it is about SA as well, has been an amazing experience of camaraderie and collective strength. Coming out in the streets to protest discrimination, marching alongside hundreds or thousands of other people to demand a better world, being visible, out and proud, confronting bigotry head-on, shifting people's awareness and the terrain of the debate, learning to stand up for myself and others in an atmosphere of solidarity and inclusiveness was and is incredibly validating and empowering. It has shifted my perception of myself and made me understand what it's like to be accepted. It has allowed me to accept myself. And today, I'm proud to stand before you as a transgender man. I want the next generation, who like I did, will be growing up under a conservative government, to grow up knowing what it's like to fight back and be proud. To have what I didn't and what Equal Love is, a counter voice in society to the homophobia and transphobia of the government. A movement to look to for acceptance and affirmation. I want them to experience the empowerment of coming out on the streets with hundreds of others like us, fighting for our rights and saying fuck you to the bigots. Equal Love is broader than just marriage equality. The success of the campaign has successfully narrowed the space for homophobic and transphobic arguments. A survey in 2005, after 9 years of the Conservative Howard government striving against gay rights and no visible LGBTI rights movement, found that 35% of people who believed that homosexuality was immoral. In contrast, when Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi last year linked marriage equality to bestiality, there was public outrage, and he was forced to resign from his position as Abbott's parliamentary secretary. The The campaign for marriage equality, being out and proud in the streets, has challenged and changed social attitudes and the climate around LGBTI issues in a positive way. It has cut against the bigotry of figures like Bernardi and Abbott and put our rights on the agenda. The campaign has made the LGBTI movement as a whole more visible and accepted, and has been a motive force for positive mainstream media, such as that about trans people seen lately. Recent victories for equal rights in Australia have come on the back of marriage equality, the marriage equality campaign. Intersex and trans people can now use X as a gender marker on our passports without being forced to have surgery or hormone therapy, and new federal anti-discrimination laws offer more protection than ever before. But there is still much more to fight for. The last 9 years have shown that we can't rely on politicians in Canberra, and especially not on bigots like Abbott. It's up to us to fight for equality. Our movement has already accomplished so much in the visibility and empowerment of LGBTI people, in giving us the courage and confidence to stand up for ourselves and each other, and in putting our rights on the agenda. We will continue to hit the streets until our rights become law. Yep.